it for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after After 22 years, Raymond Mark!
The sickest NHL podcast. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the iTest on the Sick Podcast Network. And of course, On Campus Friday is here. Pierre, is some conferences are gearing up for the playoffs here. Some have a few games left to decide standings, but exciting time of year in college hockey. But last week, Pierre, we had a very exciting game up in West Point. It was a momentous occasion as head coach Brian Riley of Army, after 21 seasons, had his last regular season game. And we're glad to welcome him on right now onto the iTest here in the Sick Podcast Network to talk about that game, that moment, and also an amazing career up at West Point. We got him.
Eventually he'll pop up. There he is. Hey, coach.
He's still recovering from that ending to that game last week, the 3-2 overtime win in his final regular season game. Coach, how are you?
No, I'm great, guys, and thanks for having me on. And honestly, you're right. Like, I think Pierre knows what I'm talking about. Like, after a big game, the adrenaline, like, you don't sleep. You know, and honestly, like, I am still, feeling the effects of that game and that moment. It was really, really special.
I think what a lot of people don't realize that are watching this, what a great family legacy the Riley family is, not just at West Point, but all throughout college hockey. Whether it was your late father, Jack, who played at Dartmouth and represented the United States, both as a player and as a coach, your brother Rob, your brother Mark, your brother Jay, obviously you playing at Brown University. I know the family history pretty well. I used to work at the Riley family hockey camp at West Point and followed Rob at Babson when he made the transition down to West Point, and I coached against Brian for a lot of years. Your family legacy is amazing. How much did that play a role in you getting into this business?
Yeah. So, well, first, Pierre, you probably forgot the best player of the family, and that was my sister Mary Beth, who played at St. Lawrence.
St. Lawrence, true.
I am not going to get on her bad side.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Good save, Coach.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Yeah, like obviously my dad being a longtime coach, and I just think for all of us being around the game as much as we were around the game because of my dad, it just seemed to be in our DNA, and it was just something that that we saw how much it meant to my dad, and also the impact that you could have on young men. So it was really, really easy for me when my mom asked me when I was home for spring break at Brown University, my senior year. She said, "Bri, what do you want to do?" And I was almost mad that she asked me because, but then I realized, I was the fourth boy that was going down this hockey path, and she was hoping for a doctor or a lawyer, and here I was, the last one to say, no, I want to be in coaching. So definitely being around my dad, it just seemed to be a real natural for us, and certainly for me.
I know it's going back a long way now, but when you first started off and you started to get into the field and you're coaching yourself, what was some of the things that struck you right away that said, you know what, this is for me too, not just because it's my family, this is for me, the individual too?
Yeah. I think first of all, like when you play the game and you play in your last game, it's like, I don't want this to end. So coaching gave me an opportunity to still feel that competitive fire that just doesn't go away. And I think that was the other thing, the competitive piece. Like you're not on the ice, but you are impacting the game as a coach, and you want to win, right? So those two things for sure.
You were part of a New Hampton prep school team that played on a rink that was pretty darn cold. You had some really good teammates before you went to Brown. I know you'd spent a year in the USHL too in Waterloo. Can you talk
Yeah.
about the New Hampton concept and the coaches and the players that were there? Because it's a murderer's row of people.
One of the most amazing. Oh, it's like to go up to New Hampton, and I was coming from this little town, right? And I'm going up with, like, back then, Coach Mike McShane. He brought in, I think there were like 20 PGs, and so here I am with all these guys from Boston, and Coach McShane, Coach Marsh. I got there, and it turned out to be the most amazing experience. And you have to love hockey if you're going to play in an outdoor rink for Coach. I'll tell you, once I was done with that year, I knew that I could play anywhere. But kind of funny that you brought that up, Pierre, because hockey's about relationships. And, just this morning, I was on an email chain with all of my teammates from New Hampton. So the memories are memories that last a lifetime, but it's amazing to still have those friendships. And I think we were 27-2-1, and just a great year. And playing for Coach McShane certainly set me up to have the opportunity to go play in college.
Hey, Jimmy, before you ask Coach one thing, Mike McShane is one of the ultimate competitors of all time. And back then, I got to believe his filter was not as great as it is right now. What was that? And I obviously worked against Coach McShane and with Coach Marsh. What was it like to play for both of those guys?
Yeah, so two kind of different personalities. Thank God Coach Marsh was there to balance off Coach McShane. Like, one quick story, we played a game, and Coach McShane wasn't happy with one of our players, and he made him take his skates off and go up on our we had a locker room that was built, and he said, you get up there and you shovel the snow off, right? And so the game ended, we go to dinner, and all of a sudden he looks around and he goes, hey, and I'm not going to say his name, but where is so-and-so? And Coach Marsh looks at him. He said, hey, you told him to shovel the snow off the roof. He's still out. He goes, Jesus Christ, go get him in here. Right? Like, another time he taped my roommate's hand to his stick because he was like, you got to keep two hands on your stick. If you don't keep two hands on your stick, I'm going to tape your hand to your stick. And I still remember my roommate basically crying, Coach, you can't do this. You can't do this. And out on the ice, he pushed him. And yeah, so there were a lot of great stories from Coach McShane, for sure.
Yeah.
Coach, coaching at Army, obviously you're dealing with young men that are so strict, obviously, I imagine, with everything they learn off the ice. What was it like coaching at the military academy, and what did that influence have on you?
So as a kid growing up, in our basement on one wall would be my dad's picture, his team pictures. Then on another wall would be my dad with his captains. And then on the other wall was my dad's Olympic pictures when they won the gold medal. So people would always ask me, hey, does your dad have a gold medal? I'm like, he's not supposed to, but yeah, he has one. And I said, you want to see it? And of course, I'd go up to my mom and dad's room. I'd open my dad's top drawer, lift up his T-shirts, pull out the gold medal. And every time I was bringing it down to show people, I always thought, why does dad stay at West Point? Like, here he is, great player at Dartmouth, played in the Olympics, coached the Olympics, from Boston. Like, why doesn't he coach at BU or BC or Harvard? But now, having sat kind of where he sat, I know why he stayed. Like, the opportunity to coach the young men that my dad, my brother Rob, and myself have been able to do the last 75 years makes this job the most rewarding and humbling coaching. I shouldn't even call it a job, opportunity in all of college hockey. So it has been a complete honor to coach young men that that hopefully you will play a small role in helping to shape and develop them to be young men that are going to lead this nation's sons and daughters. So really, really just amazing opportunity.
That's so well said. That's awesome. Now I know why you are what you are, but that says a lot about who you are right there, Coach. You grew up on a thing called Smith Arena at West Point.
Yeah.
Just so everybody understands, that was not a normal
Smith
arena.
Rink.
Not even a normal rink. Tell everybody.
No, 235 feet long. So I would always love when other teams came in to that, especially the teams that my dad were playing. They would walk in and they would just stop and like, are you kidding me? Like they would look and the rink went on and on and on. So if you guys have all watched Miracle and, Herb Brooks conditioning, well, Herb Brooks got that from my dad when he was here trying to make the 60 Olympic team, because my dad said, he said, nobody thinks we're going to win a game, but we will be the best conditioned team. And when you had to skate at Smith Rink, as a kid, back then, there was a lot of scrimmaging done in practices. So my dad would have us up at the rink, and he said, hey, when the play goes to the end, you just skate across the ice. And as a kid, they had fire hoses across the two blue lines. So we were doing cross ice games before cross ice was even cool. And then we would graduate to one fire hose across the red line. So yeah, it was not your normal rink here, and gave Army a real home ice advantage. Like the cadets could skate forever because of the practices there.
Yeah.
And it was cold.
Coach, you look back, what's the biggest thing that's impressed you about the progress of college hockey, not just in the United States, but just the respect it's getting now worldwide and obviously in Canada as well now?
Well, it's simple. The skill level, right? Like my God. I mean, even when I go and watch Pee Wee games or Bantam games, like it is the skill level that these kids have. All of our former players, and we had a bunch back here this weekend. When they watch a game, they always say the same thing, Coach. Like we could never beat this team, right? And I think it's the skill. It's the game has evolved so much, and I mean, I'm actually looking forward to wearing a different hat now, just being a spectator and being able to watch. And, I know I've always been impressed with the skill, but that's the thing that I think has moved the needle for not only college hockey, but pro hockey.
Yep.
Well, I spent the last 35 years of my life in pro hockey, but before that, I spent a lot of years in college hockey. And one of my favorite road trips was to go to West Point and stay at the Thayer Hotel. It is an amazing history lesson in life. I think Coach Riley could tell you that. Do you have any favorite memories about walking around the Point and walking around the Thayer Hotel and all the great history that's there?
Well, first of all, Pierre, like I tell everybody, certainly when we have recruits here, like when you walk around this place, you will feel the history and tradition of the, and I still to this day, like I used to run, but now I walk. I hate to admit that, but I still find myself when I get down to what is called the main area where the cadets, where they live and go to class, and you see statues of Grant, MacArthur, Patton, Eisenhower, Washington, all people that many who have gone to school here, but all people that have walked these grounds. And I am just totally in awe of,
Me too.
Of those people. But I do tell visiting teams when they come and stay at the Thayer, I'm like, guys, there are ghosts that walk those halls at night. Cause I'm trying to get a little advantage, home ice advantage. So, I said, hey, don't worry if MacArthur comes in your room or Patton. I'm like, they're really, really friendly. but a lot of coaches kind of look at me like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah. I would,
but
Coach Riley's right, but Jimmy, I would encourage any hockey fan that really wants to do a history lesson in life and why we're free. Go to West Point, stay a night at the Thayer, go watch the cadets play hockey, and walk around the campus. And what Coach said about the area, I've stayed right next to the area when I've worked at their hockey camps. It is a history lesson.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
an amazing thing to go through.
No, I mean, and honestly, when teams come, like, it's really the foreigners that I think like maybe the U.S. guys kind of take it for granted, but the foreigners are in awe. Like when we have these NHL teams come, like they cannot get enough of this place, and so to know that to have had the opportunity to not only grow up here but then raise our kids here, like I couldn't have asked for a better life.
So, and that's right on the campus, guys, the hotel, or is it?
Oh yeah, it's right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
gotta get up there. I gotta check it out.
And hey, like I said, the ghosts are friendly. Like you know, actually, if they know you're a hockey guy, they might want to have a conversation with you.
I had a beer with a couple of them, bro. I think you guys set me up a few times.
Yeah.
Coach, after this season's over, what's on the agenda for you?
So, well, first of all, like when I made this decision, like I haven't had one day this year where I've regretted making the decision. Like I know it's time. Like we have an unbelievable coach here in Zach McKelvey, who is gonna. The only thing we have to do is, and I told him this was, we
change
have to
his
add
name.
Riley, right? And so now he's Zach McKelvey Riley, but he'll have my son Jack with him, and but honestly, I haven't had one day where I've said I made a mistake. Like I know it's the right time, and I'm not a big fan of what college sports like how it's changed. So you either have to adapt or you have to get out of the way, and so I need to get out of the way. So I'm hopeful that maybe there'll be something around here, or I can do something maybe with youth hockey I mean, when I think back of my childhood, that was where I learned my passion for hockey. So if I can give something back to hockey, maybe at the youth level, that hopefully I can impact a couple kids where they will have the opportunity to look back 40 years after, you know, their hockey careers are over and say, wow, youth hockey was an awesome experience. So I'm in no rush, but I'll figure something out. I might want to do a podcast. So if you guys want to add a third guy,
sounds good.
Here we go.
So here's my idea, because I don't think anybody identifies character better than the Riley family. I've been around them a long time, Jimmy. If I were an NHL team, I'd be picking the phone up right now and saying to Brian, you want to be an area scout? You can work from Princeton all the way north. You can work from West Point all the way east. You can work from West Point all the way west to Buffalo. That's what I would do personally, because I listen, I mean this. And Brian put together with Steve, the late Steve Orr, some amazing teams at Plattsburgh State. They could beat almost every Division I team. Would you agree with that, Coach, back in the day when you were at Plattsburgh?
Absolutely.
So, I coached against those teams. He was at Lowell when Lowell was making the transition from Division II to Division I.
Oh, okay.
I think you had some great teams there, Coach.
Yeah. We made the national tournament. No, that was a great experience.
So my point, Jimmy, is if I were an NHL team, I'm picking up the blower right now and saying, hey, Coach Riley, I just saw you on the eye test. We want to make you a regional scout. Can you do that? And he'd be like, yeah. And I'd say, you guys are smart.
Yep.
You guys are smart.
No, I mean, having something maybe to do with hockey, or maybe talk leadership, because I do that a lot, and it's tied into our two players here that were killed in action. So it gives me an opportunity to make sure that their legacy lives on. So that is really, really important to me. And so like I told you guys, Pierre, Jimmy, at the start, like I will never, ever be able to repay West Point or college hockey for all that it has given me. You know, I have two sons. I have nephews that are in the college game now. I can only hope that they get half from college hockey of what I got, because if they do, they will really, really enjoy their careers.
Wow. Well
Hey,
said.
Jimmy, before you go, I want to build off something Coach said, because I
Yeah,
like to
of
listen
course.
to everything. And he talked about two of their former players that passed away in the war. They were on deployment. I was at a wedding for one of Coach Riley's nephews, and to see the celebration of life that was taking place at what was supposed to be a celebration of a marriage by the Riley family for those two cadets was unbelievable. And I will never forget that as long as I live. And Brian, you know, I mean, I got like chills right now thinking about it. How do you deal with that as a coach when you know that all your men that are playing for you someday will be deployed?
Yeah.
They will all be deployed.
So, Pierre and Jimmy, what I tell people is, I don't like to lose, right? I'm not afraid to lose. What I am afraid to lose are my players. Like you can't see, like right now I'm showing you 2 KIA bracelets that are on my wrist. One for First Lieutenant Derek Hines and the other for Major Thomas Kennedy. I have no more wrist, right? Like losing both of those players was the hardest thing that could ever happen to me as a coach. And having to call their parents after I found out, I'll never forget when Heinze was killed in Afghanistan, and I found out, I called my dad and I said, Dad, I can't call his parents. And he told me, he said, Bri, you have to call his parents.
Yeah.
I said, Dad, what am I going to say? He said, you know what? He said, you may not say anything. They may yell at you. They may not want to talk to you. But as Heinze's coach, as somebody who recruited him to West Point, you have to call his mom and dad. And really, really, I always say, being a leader, you have to have hard discussions, right? And there was never a harder discussion than having to make those 2 calls. Yet I'm so glad that I did. And both parents told me the same thing, that their sons died doing what they loved. And so, but that's why it is really, really important for me to make sure that the legacy of First Lieutenant Derek Hines and Major Thomas Kennedy lives on. And they would want their story told to hockey people, right?
Yep.
So when I talk to NHL teams, or I'm going to talk to AIC today about it, you know, I know it makes an impact. And now when people hear the name Hines or Kennedy, I know they'll always think back, wow, I heard a story about, you know, a guy by the name of Hines and they seem like great people. So, yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Coach.
Oh, Coach, that's amazing.
No.
That's enough. I mean, that says it all right there. We're
Exactly.
celebrating legacy. That's the Riley family legacy and the West Point legacy all in one story. Amazing story.
Amazing. Coach, we wish you the best, and I hope to meet you in person someday around the rinks. And again, thank you for an amazing career and all you've done for the game of hockey and for your players.
No, well, guys, thanks for having me. Jimmy, you got to get to West Point. I'm going to put you in the hotel there.
I can't wait to meet those ghosts.
And you are going to meet Patton, Eisenhower, and Grant, you know, so it'll be a great trip.
To me.
No,
all
but
right.
Hey, guys, thanks for what you guys do. Like college hockey is what it is because people like you have passion for the sport. And
it means a lot.
So, you know what? Thank you.
I will talk with you soon.
Yes. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right. Legendary Coach Brian Riley of Army here. You know what just struck me from that, besides what he just said at the end there, Pierre, is what he said a couple answers before when I asked him what your plans are. And he immediately said, I want to keep giving back to the game. And that right there defines him to me. Like, I don't, this is my first time ever encountering Coach Riley, but right there, that define, and you know him way better than me, but that was amazing. That, like, he's clearly given a lot to the game that he still wants to give and keep giving. It says a lot about him.
Yeah, I've known the family since 1982. Pretty amazing. I was there at Coach Riley, Brett Riley at LIU, who's been on our show numerous times.
Yes.
I was at his wedding, and his father, Rob, officiated the wedding. It was amazing. It was in New Hampshire in a farmer's field. It was beautiful. It was seriously, Jimmy, is one of the nicest weddings I've ever been to. And one of the things that was done is they celebrated the death of those two cadets at the wedding. And if you didn't have a tear in your eye there, then you're not a human being, man.
I was holding it back just now.
You're not. No, you're like I got goosebumps thinking about it. It was amazing, and a lot of those two young men that passed on, their teammates were there. This was it was a celebration of their lives, and it was a celebration of a wedding. And it wasn't a military wedding, but it's about as close as you could get to a military wedding, where people actually had compassion and sorrow, but celebrating two great lives that had ended, and two more that were about to start. And I will never forget that. I'll never forget that.
Unreal. What an individual he is, and what a great ambassador of the game and life. And it was great to have him on, Pierre. Pierre, I know where you are as we record this. It's Thursday morning, and you are getting ready to do the broadcast with Nathan Strauss of UMass and UMass Lowell. Big games for both teams here, Pierre. What are these games? And we'll look at some other ones too. What does this mean in terms of pairwise right now?
A lot. This is a big pairwise weekend for a lot of teams. It doesn't matter whether it's Hockey East, ECAC, the NCHC, CCHA, the Atlantic, the Big Ten. I mean, Jimmy, everybody's talking pairwise. Here's what I'll say. There could be some massive upsets. Pairwise could eventually get thrown right out the window because there's some potential for major upsets in a lot of these tournaments. And we're not there yet. We're a week away from we're 2 weeks away from most of the tournaments. I don't know what's going to happen. I wish I could be a prognosticator and say, yeah, Jimmy, do this on Betway or do that on Betway. I can't. I just don't know. It's just too hard. It really is too hard.
Well, we continue. I mean, that's a great point. I mean, in the last few weeks, we've seen upsets each weekend. I mean, it seems more and more that the closer we get to the end of the season, if I'm one of these top 5 teams in the country, I'm nervous. Like I'm saying, I don't take this team lightly, no matter who they are.
No, well, you can't.
Yeah,
you can. I mean, you look around the leagues, everybody's beating everybody else. Now, are teams sweeping other teams more times than not? No, they're not. They're getting splits. But it shows you how tight it is, how competitive it truly is. What I would say, though, is Boston College has an advantage over most teams, I think, just because of their depth and their goaltending, the fact that Gabe Pearl and Ryan Leonard are there. I think, Michigan State's got some pretty heady advantage because of their goal-setting situation with Trey Augustine in particular, the fact they've got some explosive, quick-strike offensive capability. Minnesota's got more of a veteran team, so they're in a pretty good spot. Denver has been way up here, and they've also been here. And I think part of that is World Junior and things, and some guys may be thinking pro rather than thinking college right now. But I think now with the playoffs there, a lot of these guys will be back to focusing in on college. Gotcha. But Jimmy, I'm just going to tell you the potential for major upsets in this year's college tournament are as great as I've ever seen. And again, I've been in college hockey since 1979. So it's a long time. It's a long time.
Right. You brought up some guys thinking pro, Pierre, and on Wednesday, I believe we had someone in the Q&A was asking you about NCAA free agency. And again, we're not going to name any names or anything, but I get the feeling, and we've had this discussion off air, Pierre, but we'll say it here, this year and even going forward more and more because of the whole CHL situation, we're going to see more and more NCAA free agents getting signed as the years go on here.
Well, you had a talk with an NHL coach. We won't say it about a player, and that there's an interest there. I shared with you this morning a conversation. A team called me this morning about a player. So that's just one example of two different teams, just with you and I. And I can tell you over the course of the year, I've been asked by a lot of different teams about a lot of different players in college hockey. So I think the answer is you're going to see more and more of it. And the CHL agreement, but the CHL relationship with the NCAA is going to change a lot of it too.
Yep.
A lot of it.
For sure. Before we go, Pierre, any other games that you can, like any games? I know you're UMass Lowell, but obviously you'll keep an eye on Northeast. But any other games around college hockey that are, I got to make sure I'm keeping tabs on that.
No, I think they're all really important right now. I can't just say, yeah, Jimmy, you got to watch this one or I got to watch that. I think I'm watching them all. Last weekend I was gone to Mario's camp. But if you ask anybody that was there, those Northeastern BU games were crazy. They were cuckoo crazy. And so that was a split. NU beats BU at BU 5-1, and then, NU loses on home ice. It's really a 2-1 game, and it was a 1-1 game for a long time. And then BU gets a late goal and then an empty netter. But that shows you like how right now, pairwise, Northeastern's not even in the top 20.
Yep.
But you see, they've beaten BC, they've beaten BU, they've beaten Providence. You go look at it, they've beaten UMass Lowell. Like they lost 2 really tight games with Maine, and one of them was in a shootout.
Yep.
So you look around, I'm just telling you, like that's just one example of one team. So it's this thing's gonna be crazy right to the end. It really is.
Looking forward to it, and also just to remind everyone, we are looking forward to being up in Lake Placid for the ECAC championship weekend. Pierre, I can't wait they're actually getting their playoffs underway this weekend. So
no. The women are.
Women are. My bad.
The women start this week, and the men's tournament begins a week from this weekend.
Okay, gotcha. That's still earlier than the other guys, though, right?
Yeah, they'll be earlier. Yep, they'll be early. But they play. What they do is they have one single elimination, and then they play 2 out of 3, whereas the other leagues only play 1 game and you're out.
Yep.
That's why I'm telling you, like people. So a lot of the leagues are like March Madness.
Mm-hmm.
So in a 1-game series.
Yep.
Anything, especially when everybody's kind of
where you are.
similar. Yeah. And I've talked to enough players, I've talked to enough coaches, I've talked to enough officials, and I've seen enough where I'm like, this thing's got a chance to go haywire. It's pretty cool, actually.
Get ready for some overtimes too. I mean, remember last year we saw a great one between UMass and Denver and Springfield.
How many was that? 2 or 3 overtime?
2 double OT. Yep. I mean,
that was amazing.
And that was
and by the way, no disrespect meant to the Piles and their great coaching staff led by David Carl and all the great players they've had there. They should have lost that game.
Oh yeah.
Their goalie Anderson stood on his head.
Yeah.
He did a Jordan Binnington. He was Jordan. I'm just telling you, they should have lost that game.
Yeah. And I you know what? I'm sure off the record they might say that themselves. I mean, I thought like if you went on and watched Denver the rest of the tournament, that was their toughest challenge. I mean, they were in deep, but that's why they're champions. They got through it, so good on them. And we'll see what happens with them this season. Pierre, we continue to have great weeks. I look forward to next week as well. We'll continue to get great guests on. And this is one of my favorite times of year, though, because we've got the college playoffs starting up. And then you've also got the play, the run to get to the playoffs in the NHL right now. And it's so tight in the East. So I'm really excited to start tracking all these battles and these races, and we'll have it all for you here with wonderful guests as always.
Jimmy, it was cool having Brian Riley on today. I don't know how many people can actually say this. I coached against Brian. I coached against his brother, Rob. I coached against his father, Jack. I had his son, Jack, in hockey camp. I worked with his son or his nephew, Brett. So, I'm kind of, and his brother Mark, when I was at Babson in St. Lawrence, sold us all our equipment. So,
oh my gosh.
I've known them a long time.
You're kind of an extended member of that family, Pierre.
All the Irish guys got to stick together. But
that's right.
I remember coaching against Jack Riley, the Olympic champion, and he was there with Rob. Rob was his associate coach when he left Babson.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about intense. Remember how intense Pat Burns used to be on the bench?
Yes.
Remember how intense Mike Keenan used to be on the bench? Yep. Brian Sutter, remember?
Yep. Yeah.
So imagine Jack and Rob together on.
Oh my gosh!
I'm just telling you. And I was at Babson one time. It was at the new rink too. It wasn't at Smith. It was at the new rink at West Point, which is a beautiful rink, by the way. Rob was really mad at something one of our players did, and he had recruited most of that team, so he knew all the players. He comes running into the glass between the two benches and does like a Spider-Man hooking on it. I thought he was coming right through the glass. I was like, oh no, what the heck? we had a good chuckle on that. I have so much respect and time for the Riley family, so much. And
Go ahead.
I
Was
just
there a
gonna-
common thread with all the coaches in terms of personality or coaching approach?
Yeah, there's one thing that stands out. Standards. They all had unbelievable. You had to play at a certain standard. You had to practice at a certain standard.
Mhm.
There was always intensity. All of them are extremely intense.
Yep.
Away from the rink, not nearly as intense, but at the rink, extremely intense. But the standard option to me is what stood out. And, coach, the legendary Jack Riley, who won the 60 Olympics with his group, he had very, very, very high standard. I remember sitting and talking with him at the coaches convention in Naples when I was a young coach, or talking with him at West Point when I used to work at the hockey camp there.
Yep.
And standards were always, that was the one thing that always flowed through the entire family.
Okay. You figure there's always some common thread for sure. Yeah. Good stuff. Well, it was an honor to have him on. I'm glad we got him. And congratulations to Coach on an amazing career there up in Army. Amazing. And we look forward to talking to you next week. He's Pierre McGuire. I'm Jimmy Murphy. This has been another edition of the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.